Broncos country. Merry Christmas, man. I hope you guys all had a wonderful Christmas, hopefully with your family and your friends. You guys got a chance to enjoy, relax a little bit, maybe watch a little bit of football. See that the Broncos were, granted a nice little Christmas gift, given that everything before was kind of going against us in the favor. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to break it down. What does the Chiefs win yesterday against the Steelers and them clinching the number one spot? What does that mean for us? Does it really make a difference? And is it kind of, a week thing to root for as a Bronco fan, something that I've been thinking about. Let's break it down. We'll get into it for sure today. And I took a couple day hiatus, so I'm super excited to be back talking with you guys here on the channel. If it's your first time visiting, welcome. Thank you so much for checking the video out. Hopefully, you guys are big Bronco fans, Nuggets fans, Avs fans, and you find a lot of the content on this channel relevant. If so, please consider hitting that subscribe button and like the video. And always interact with the comments. I love it when you guys interact on the comments, even if you're saying that some of the things that I said is crazy, outlandish. I love it. Keep them coming, please, for real. All right. So, guys, the Broncos yesterday, they got a win. I mean, they got a win in a sense of what I think is a huge Christmas gift, a huge Christmas gift for the Broncos by the Chiefs getting the win against the Steelers. What it essentially does is it basically guarantees that the Chiefs are not going to have anything to be playing for when it comes to the Broncos Week 18 game. Now, listen, guys, I get it. I'm never the kind of team that likes to or the kind of fan that wants my team to, get lucky or backdoor their way into a playoff berth or blah, blah, blah. But let's face it, we are not in a position, we have not earned the position to just, beggars can't be choosers, right? It's been 9 long years without us going to the playoffs. And I'm at the point where I don't really care how the hell we get in. I want to get in. I want to get this young team and this young quarterback some playoff experience, regardless of how it ends up that we got in. Because the way that I look at it is putting us in a position to have 9 wins, after 14 weeks, um, is that's putting yourself in a position to be able to have a little bit of flexibility and have a little bit of luck at the end of the year. So we've already earned that by earning the 9 wins as early as we did. Now we need to get our 10th, right? And so that makes the week 18 game. Now I don't like to look ahead, but we're gonna look ahead a little bit. That makes the week 18 game a little bit easier, and a little bit more feasible in terms of us getting the win and uh, earning that playoff spot. But let's take a look at what this means, right? There was a lot that happened. Us losing to the Chargers last week really hurt us in many different ways, especially when it comes to seeding. Because had we won that game against the Chargers, we would have actually had a very clear path to not just the number 6 seed, but the number 5 seed, which, given the way Baltimore's playing, you don't want that 6 seed, right? The 6 seed and the 7 seed are not really advantageous for us because playing the Bills in Buffalo, they're a really, really hot team. They're cooking. I don't really know how you like the chances there. And then going to Baltimore also sounds terrible. Like, I think a lot of Bronco fans really like the idea of going into Pittsburgh because we saw some of the flaws. We saw some of the ways that we match up against Pittsburgh. Obviously, the Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, the whole news would have been awesome, right? But Pittsburgh kind of showed who they are in these last couple weeks by getting some losses. And so the way that it's shaping up to be is now, unless the Chargers lose out and the Steelers lose out and the Broncos win out, we don't really have a chance at that number 5 seed. So getting the number 6 or the number 7, to me, I don't really see much of a difference. I'd almost rather play Buffalo than anything. But that's all kind of irrelevant because the Broncos still need to get in. And as a Bronco fan and as the way I want to see the season play out, I want to see us beat the Bengals this weekend, right? Just earn it. Earn it. Don't rely on the Chiefs potentially benching their starters or playing them for half of the game or having to go up against a JV team to earn your way into the playoffs. The best way that the way that teams I think perform the best in the playoffs is that they're in this mindset that they've been playing playoff football well before the playoffs even started. And that's kind of where the Broncos are. I think it's going to be a really tough battle against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. It's a rough matchup for us. The fact that we're playing them there on a weird schedule, even though we do get the 10 days break, which was great. We got kind of the mini bye. The weather's not going to be all that good. And Cincinnati's playing some really, really good football right now. So this is going to be a hell of a challenge, but a challenge that I really hope that this Broncos team is going to be up for. I think the defense is going to have a mission to prove that they are more like who they were in like the first 14 weeks of the season rather than the last couple weeks, uh, for sure. They've been struggling a lot. Yes, some of it has to do with Riley Moss being out, but there seems to be some weaknesses that offenses have picked out that they realize that, different ways that they can beat the Broncos defense. And it's mainly by getting the linebackers, forcing them to play coverage. Now, that has been the case. And if you look at the Broncos defense really in the first half of the season when they were playing really, really good football, what you'll notice is that there was a lot of packages that they had where they'd only have one linebacker on the field. Because what it allowed for us to do is be able to bring in an extra DB. I think with the injury to Riley Moss, it's kind of switched that. So there've been a lot more situations where we have both Sternad and Cody Barton on the field at the same time, especially in obvious pass downs. And teams have taken advantage of that because as well as they've played at times, they do have a lot of weaknesses specifically in the pass game and in coverage. And hopefully we'll be able to get Riley Moss back this week. It's certainly trending like that's going to be the case. And if that is the case, then I think we'll be able to have more advantageous matchups, especially in our dime packages, right? We could play a lot more dime where we feel like we could still be really stout against stopping the run, but we'd be able to have good matchups when it comes to covering guys. When you look at this offense, obviously Joe Burrow, one of the stud quarterbacks. I think he's easily, without a doubt, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I love his game. And he's been cooking this year. He's been playing super well. And it helps when you have unbelievable weapons like Jamar Chase and like T. Higgins. Now, I love that because I think Pat Surtain can limit Jamar Chase. I really look forward to seeing what that battle is going to look like. I think Riley Moss can help limit a lot of what T. Higgins can do. So we match up really well. It's going to be about how do we, they're going to try to take advantage of Chase Brown for sure out of the pass game, the running back there. He's been a really, really solid player. They're going to try to utilize him a lot. They have Andre Ioshavas, I think that's how you say it, as one of their slot guys. He's kind of set their made plays. I'm not overly worried about him. And obviously they got Mike Gesicki, who's a tight end that can make some plays there too. But I like the way on paper we actually match up against this team. I think we have a lot of players that can mitigate their superstar players. The big thing and the more important thing is that their defense is struggling now. They've been better the last few weeks, but they are struggling. And as long as you can find a plan for Trey Hendrickson, Bo Nix should be able to throw it all over the yard on this team. Absolutely, without a doubt, he should be able to move it. Um, and we're going to get into a deeper breakdown on another video. But I really wanted to kind of touch on the playoff seeding in this scenario because what that does is it takes a lot of pressure off of this game. It really, really does, right? Now, I don't think that the players feel that way, but I feel like as a fan base, I know that, man, worst case scenario, if we end up losing this game, yes, it's still going to be very nerve wracking, right? With the Chiefs coming to town. But the fact that we know that it's probably going to be a lot of the backups, you feel like, man, if you can't win that game at home against the JV Chiefs team, you didn't even deserve to sniff the playoffs. So it was a really, really big win for us yesterday in terms of what ended up happening with the Chiefs beating the Steelers. Now, when you look at the rest of the standings, right? I mean, the Steelers schedule. I think next week they end up playing the Bengals, right? So there's even that situation where it's like, man, the Bengals can beat us, and then they're playing the Steelers, and the Steelers got all the marbles to play for next year. And if the Bengals end up losing, you can end up backdooring it that way too. So there's a lot of scenarios that end up happening like that. But if the Steelers end up losing next week against the Bengals, right, and then the Broncos end up beating the Bengals this week, the Broncos do have a chance to significantly move up. They can move up to the sixth seed. Like I said, I don't know if we necessarily want that um, as Bronco fans. It all really depends. There's even though there's only really 2 weeks left, there's so many moving parts with this playoff picture, right? Because right now you are looking at the Chargers and the Steelers being ahead of you, right? But both of them have the tiebreaker, the head-to-head tiebreaker. So the only way that you can really jump both of them is by both of them losing and you winning out. So let's face it, guys, the dream scenario of the Broncos going to Houston and playing the Texans in round one of the playoffs is very, very slim. But we'll take it 1 week at a time. Let's focus on getting this win. Let's focus on clinching the playoff berth that we so desperately need. And let's see what we can get. We'll take it from there. So that is what I'm hoping for more than anything. I think the Broncos are up to the task. I think they can do it. Uh, it's a game that so worries me. I'm not even sure if I'll predict the Broncos to win it, but there's a lot of after thinking about it a lot and kind of going through the numbers and watching the teams and the PFF grades and some of the film, I think that there's a lot of things to be optimistic about because even though the Bengals have been playing really well lately. They've also just had a lot of flaws in terms of the way that they played and a lot of inconsistencies and stuff. There's a lot of things to love. We'll see how it ends up happening. Broncos country, let me know your thoughts. What did you think about the game yesterday with the Chiefs and the Steelers? Do you care at all how the Broncos end up getting into the playoffs, or are you just of the mindset of, man, I don't care how we get in, I just want to get in, and we'll see what ends up happening? I certainly fit into that latter mold, so I'd love to know what you guys think. Otherwise, lots of things I'm excited about. We got basically 48 hours until the next Broncos game. This whole schedule has been throwing me off like crazy, but let's get this baby. I'll have a really in-depth video tomorrow about the Broncos and the Bengals, and we'll go from there. All right, Broncos country. Spend time with those you love the most. Merry Christmas again. Hope you guys had a chance to enjoy it. And until next time, peace out, baby.